Hello, I'm Burt Green and this is the Burt Locker. Effectively, I'm an idiot in a cowboy hat that likes to talk about mixed martial arts, really. So these are just videos. This one in particular is called a Casuals Guide. It is a full run through of the entire fight card coming up this week in the UFC. This week we have UFC 289, the numbered event in Canada. The one with the headliner that's questionable, but the co-main event that should really be the main event. I think you know which fights I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm going to go through the entire card, cliff notes, information on every single fighter and every single fight for the entire card. I'm going to do it in under 20 minutes, so you haven't got to waste 2 hours of your time just trawling through. So look, I like an in-depth pick show as much as the next guy, but goddamn, we also have things to do. Am I right, folks? So let's get cracking. We're going to start off in the 115-pound ladies division. Diane Belbita taking on Maria Oliveira. We've got 5'7" playing 5'6" with a 1-inch reach for Oliveira. Now, Belbita, she is a sexy Romanian. She is sexy as hell. Big fan, gotta say. She really is a warrior princess. Huge fan. She's a Kempo Karate World Champion. That was Chuck Liddell's original discipline. And she's a kickboxing champion as well. Success has not really followed into the UFC. She's 1-4, and she needs a win really badly here. Oliveira, Spider Girl, has not had the best UFC run either, in fairness. She's 1-3, not sure on the style, but she has 7 knockouts and only 1 submission, so she might like to stand. No idea who wins this. Belbita has more finishes, so maybe she has more ways to win. That's literally my only logic here, so I'm going to roll the dice on the very pretty Romanian. David Dvorak takes on Stephen Erceg? Erceg, I'm going to say Erceg. 125 pound flyweight, so 5'5" plays 5'8". Wow, 5'8" at 125 pounds. How is that even possible? Are his bones hollow? Jesus Christ. Anyway, Dvorak, he's pretty legit. He's an all-round threat. He often gets the finish, be it the submission or the TKO or knockout. He has 8 of each. So Erceg, standing at 5'8", that's a crazy height for that division. He's very big, clearly. 9-1 as well. He's very good. He's got lots of submissions, guillotines, rear naked chokes, high percentage stuff. And his length is probably what helps with that, honestly. Dvorak's coming off 2 losses, whereas Erceg is on an 8-fight win streak. Momentum is on his side, and that is a thing in MMA, so he's also huge. I'm going to have to roll the dice on Erceg here by submission. So that's the early prelims. Now we head to the prelims. If you could do me a favour, hit subscribe if you like this content. Really appreciate it. Thank you. No need to comment. I won't read them. Just hit subscribe. Thank you. Carl Nelson takes on Blake Bilder. I think this is the first of the Canada versus USA, because this is a Canada versus USA card. So yeah, Carl Nelson, Blake Bilder, 145 pound featherweight division, 5'11", plays 5'8". Not too short on the reach, honestly. Carl Nelson is a bit of an all-rounder. He's a brown belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he's proficient on the ground. He's got a salty UFC record though, 1 win in 5. It ain't great. Bilder, he looks like he's a bit of a beast, to be fair. He's undefeated, he's huge, he's big, he's strong. He looks like he's on steroids. He looks like a scary guy. He's got a knack for winning. He's got a good submission game. I'm going to take the undefeated prospect here to take out the salty Canadian. And then you've got Aymanan Zahabi, Canadian, versus Ariki Leng. I'm going to call him Ariki Leng. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I think it's Ariki Leng from China. This is Canada versus China, so it doesn't count in the Canada versus USA one. 5'8", plays 5'7", with a 1/2-inch reach for Ariki Leng. Now, Zahabi is not only Canadian, but he's got a real Hawaiian-ness about him. Also, fun fact, he's the younger brother of Faraz Zahabi, who's the TriStar gym owner, the one who trained GSP, and all that, the one who went on Joe Rogan talking about woo-woo all the time. He said it way too much for my liking. Anyway, he's very good on the ground. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, 3-2 in the UFC so far. He's looking like he's putting together a fairly decent run, is Zahabi's younger brother. So anyway, Ariki Leng, he has good footwork. He's pretty good at outworking opponents. 15 decisions. He knows how to get his nose in front. He knows how to win on scorecards. That's always a good skill to have. 8 knockouts as well, so he has got decent hands. But I'm going to take Zahabi here by submission, just because he seems like he's so well versed on the ground. That might be a gap for the Chinese fighter there. So anyway, you've got then Miranda Maverick taking on Jasmine Jusadavicius. Jusadavicius. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, 125 pound. Got Canadian versus USA. Again, 5'3", plays 5'7". Wow, 2.5-inch reach for Jusadavicius. So Maverick, she's impressive. She's stalled against some of the better fighters, you know, Blanchfield, Barber, but overall she's usually the more skilled fighter in there, especially in the grappling exchanges. Now, Jasada Vicious, she's similar. She's very skilled. She's quite big for the division. For me, I do like Maverick in this one. Look for the grappling exchanges. She's going to be giving up a lot of height, but once on the ground, it kind of negates that, and she usually finds the submission once she heads to the ground, so that's what I'd be going for in that one. Then you've got Khalil Roundtree versus Chris Daukaus. Now, this one I'm doing a deep dive on. If you want to check out my more in-depth analysis on this very interesting fight, because it really is interesting, head over to the Burt Locker on Patreon now. That is exclusively for my Patreon viewers, at least for the next week or so. It's an early exclusive. I do put them on my YouTube after the fight, so if you want to check them out then, go ahead. But obviously, if you want to get that information before the fight, head to the Patreon. Thank you. So, this one we've got 6'1" playing 6'2", with not much of an inch, not much difference in the reach, because it's half an inch towards Roundtree. Now, Khalil Roundtree is an interesting cat. He used to be 300 pounds. He was super overweight. He got into martial arts, and he's a real inspiration, honestly. He's a knockout artist, great kicks. He really hurts people. He's very dangerous. Daukaus is finally heading down to 205. He's spent his career at heavyweight thus far. He's fast and he's big. He's got good boxing. He got caught out in the upper echelons of the heavyweight division, though. He did get caught out 3 times in a row. I still think that Daukaus is in trouble here, honestly. He did look good against the slower heavyweights, you know, your Parker Porters and such and such. Roundtree is not a slow heavyweight. He's a pretty fast light heavyweight. I don't think that Daukaus is going to look as fast as we used to. Who knows, though? Daukaus does have some grappling, but for me, I think that Roundtree's going to chew up the legs early, and I think he gets the knockout. I think he finds the knockout in this one. And then you've got Nassourdine Imavov taking on Chris Curtis. Another very interesting fight. 6'3", plays 5'10", with a half-inch reach for Curtis. Imavov is from Dagestan, but he has to, I've got to say, he's one of the more handsome Dagestan guys. He doesn't look like a Hills Have Eyes kind of character. Do you know what I mean? A lot of those guys do. They have a similar kind of look to them, but he looks pretty handsome, pretty strikingly handsome, honestly. And maybe that's why he moved to Paris, maybe because that's more his scene. He trains at the same place that trained Francis Ngannou and obviously Ciryl Gane. His striking style is very reminiscent of Ciryl Gane, to be fair. Very light, very nice kicks. He's always on the balls of his feet. He's very difficult to take down as well. Now, Curtis, he's very solid. He's got good footwork, very nice boxing. Interesting style. He's one of the few MMA guys I've seen use the Philly shell boxing defense. Pretty effectively as well, honestly. So for me, I think that Imavov's probably going to be a bit too much movement-wise. His kicks are going to play a big factor in this one. Plus, they have an opponent in common. Imavov absolutely smoked Heinisch, whereas Curtis dropped a decision to Heinisch. So I know that's not how MMA math works, but I'm going to take Imavov by decision, because Curtis is very hard to put away. Out of 10 losses, only one of them has been a knockout. So then we move on to the main card. If you wouldn't mind, please hit subscribe. Really appreciate it. Really helps me out. Don't need to comment. Just hit subscribe. Thank you. Marc-Andre Barriault from Canada taking on Eric Anders, USA. So another USA versus Canada. Got 6'1", playing 6'1", with a 1-inch reach for Barriault. Now, Barriault, he's a big physical middleweight. He really is. He's got big power. He can really crack. He does not mind getting into a firefight, which sometimes gets him in trouble. But last time we saw him get a big knockout over Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Anders, he's a former college linebacker at Alabama, and he fights like it as well. Just forward, front pressure, just smashes into people. He's very, very good. He's tough. He uses his athleticism very well. He's a BJJ brown belt. He's very, very good. Interesting fight, this one. I think it could go either way. It could be fight of the night as well, honestly. They're both very similar. They both move forward. They both mix up hard kicks and very strong hands. I do think Anders has an advantage when it hits the floor, but I do think that also the power advantage goes in favour of Barriault. I'm going to take Barriault, the Canadian, by knockout in that one. Dan Ige taking on Nate Landwehr. Now, 5'7", plays 5'9", with a 1-inch reach for Landwehr. This is going to be in the 145 division, I think. Sorry, I haven't put a note on that. Anyway, Ige, he's very good. He went through a rough run of form, but he's bounced back recently. He can kind of do it all. He's tough. He's never been finished, right? He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a Judo brown belt. And we know what that means. If someone has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, they're usually pretty hard, and that is Dan Ige all over. Landwehr is a former M1 featherweight champ. He's former SSF Submission Academy, so he does have a lot of submissions, but his striking is also where he generally tends to gravitate towards, especially early in his career. I do like Dan Ige here. I think his striking will be competitive, but on the ground, I think Dan Ige probably smokes him. I think he's got a real advantage. And the fact that he knows that, it's going to free up his striking without the fear of the takedown, because if he gets taken down, his sweeps are very, very good. So we could see him take advantage there. So USA versus Canada continues next with Mike Malott taking on Adam Fugit in the 170-pound division. 6'1", plays 6'1", with a 4-inch reach for Fugit. Now, Malott is a finisher. He's big, he's physical for the division. He's got very good hands. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. He's finished all of his wins, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions. The guy is a talent. Fugit, also very solid, good striking. In particular, he's got very nice elbows. We saw that in his last fight. He has got submissions as well, but he leans towards the striking. For me, Mallett's probably just going to be too much for him here. He's too big, too physical, too skilled. He likely gets another finish. Just to even up the record, I would say knockout just to make it 5-5, but double chance on the finish would be the safest bet in that one. So overall, Canada versus America, what an anticlimax. I have it 2-2. It's going to be a draw in that one. Never mind. Better luck next time, USA versus Canada, although I'm likely wrong. So then you've got the co-main event / the real main event. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Now, I'm doing a much more in-depth analysis on this one. It is over on my Patreon, the deep dive. So head to the Burt Locker on Patreon if you want to see my in-depth, slightly more thorough analysis of this fight. It's on my Patreon before the fight, so about a week after the fights. I usually put them on my YouTube if you want to check out what the format is like. But if you want to see it before the fights, then head over to the Patreon and subscribe. Thank you. So 5'10", plays 5'10", with a 2-inch reach for Charles Oliveira. Now, this is the big one. It's a heartbreaker either way, totally honest. Charles, he's a submission wizard. He also gets into reckless striking exchanges, mostly because he does not worry about being taken down, because why would you when you're as good at jiu-jitsu as he is? His scrambling, his sweeps are on another level. His ability to find the back, legendary. And if he does find the back, it's generally over, guys. Dariush is also a high-level BJJ player. He's a black belt. He has black belt in Muay Thai as well. His top game is crushing. We saw that against Tony Ferguson. He controls so well on the ground. His ground and pound is nasty. He's on a current 8-fight win streak, and that gives him momentum. For me, I'm a bit torn. Technically, I think Beneil is a better striker, but Oliveira might be more effective just because he doesn't worry about being taken down. It frees him up a bit. He's also very long. Now, on the ground, Beneil's a killer, but probably not on Charles's level, honestly. So I think he probably finds the back here. I think we see a rear naked choke for Charles Oliveira, although I would say, caveat, I want Beneil to win because for some reason, stylistically, I do think Beneil Dariush matches up better with Islam Makhachev. I'm not sure that Islam Makhachev is a brilliant matchup for Charles Oliveira. I don't know how many times he'd have to fight Islam before he found the win there, but no, it remains to be seen. Then you have the main event. Amanda Nunes taking on Irene Aldana, Brazil versus Mexico. 5'8", plays 5'9", with a 1/2 inch reach for Nunes. Now, Nunes, we all know, so far, she's the best female MMA fighter by far. Savage striking, uses her length really, really well, and she hurts people. She's a BJJ black belt, of course, but usually she prefers to smash her opponents in the face and make it really nasty, and that's why we all like to see her. I was actually there. I was present when she won the belt. When she won the belt off Miesha Tate, I was at UFC 200. Just fun fact. You know, she's been the champion ever since I was in Vegas watching UFC 200. How nuts is that? That's how long she has been the champion. It's kind of unheard of, isn't it, really? Irene Aldana, she's big, she's physical, she kicks well, she's got good punches, she's got excellent up kicks, because we saw that in her last fight. The finish had a lot to do with those up kicks, I've got to say. Now, for me, Aldana, she's come unstuck before against really good fighters. Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, to say the least, and both of those guys got completely outclassed by Amanda Nunes. I think Amanda Nunes smashes her here. I don't see anything in Aldana's skill set that I think is going to particularly worry Amanda Nunes. Although, I would say I didn't see anything in Juliana Pena's skill set that I thought would particularly worry Amanda Nunes. But it's almost, I think Amanda Nunes maybe took that fight lightly because we saw in the rematch, Nunes absolutely destroyed Pena with the greatest of respect. I think that Nunes is on a mission here to prove beyond all doubt that she is the best around. I think that's what we will see. So that's all got time for on this one. I'm going to be recapping these next week. So until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible. Thank you for watching.